G'day guys and welcome, my name is Michael and I'm the DeadAussieGamer and welcome to another Dead Aussie Review, the series where I review some of the tabletop role-playing games that I enjoy and share some of my thoughts upon them with you, fine and wonderful people of the internet. Now, today we are going to be looking at another expansion to the Through the Breach RPG, and that is Into the Steam. Now, what is Into the Steam? Into the Steam is a book that is comprised of all these information about Malifaux the world, the setting as an environment, and how you can play within that environment with characters that are focused heavily on magic and innovation. Now, it is not unknown about me. I love Malifaux, I really do. And one of the biggest things I love about Malifaux is this idea of it being set in the Industrial Revolution of an alternate Earth. The idea of innovation being the building of new technologies and machines have always really appealed to me about this system. And this book is just absolutely chockers with that sort of stuff. It is filled with pneumatic augmentations if you want to play cybernetic characters. There are versatile pursuits such as the Mage and the Primal that allow you to really interact with the world on an entirely new level. There is a lot of stuff in here that I really, really enjoyed. Why did it take me so long to get to in terms of the review? Well, that is because Into the Steam is actually made and released when Through the Breach was still in its first edition. It is now in its second edition, and some of the stuff is a little outdated. But the majority of what you'll find within Into the Steam is completely compatible and still absolutely amazing for use in your modern TDB game? That's weird. TTRPG, TTB. That's so weird. Anyway, I never thought about that before. But yeah, in your next Through the Breach game. But of course, guys, as we have always said, these reviews are not about us breaking down every little tiny piece in this book. We are just going to be doing a big overall review on this book, what to expect, what to enjoy, and whether or not it might be worth you picking up. So, without delaying any further, let us go to our review chart and see what we think about it. Starting off with simplicity. How easy was this to get, to digest, and to integrate? Honestly, it was great. It was very easy. A 4 out of 5 is what I gave this because there was actually very little I needed to translate from first edition to second edition, which was one of my major concerns. Sure, there are some skills that no longer exist, but beyond that, the game still remained fundamentally the same. And you could either very easily go with just translating a lot of the stuff that, such as skills and skill triggers, ignoring the stuff from Into the Steam and just referencing the stuff from the second edition core rulebook, or alternatively, you could homebrew the inclusion of these skills back into the game if that's something you were into. In any case, it was very easy to understand and translate between the two, despite having different systems, even though the games, of course, are compatible. The other element that I thought made simplicity a very, very good winner here was the fact that as a Fate Master, it is very difficult to create and generate random encounters. It is. It is in any game. But within this book here, there were a number of chapters dedicated to things such as environmental challenges and the different types of encounters you can start customizing. And that for me is very important because there have been a number of incidences where I've created an entire game and I'm like, man, I have no idea how I'm going to have these guys deal with the building falling down around them. Well, turns out that in this book, it covers that. It covers fires, it covers blizzards, it covers urban terrain problems, it covers landslides. You know, there's just so much stuff here that you can really add into your repertoire. And again, there's no issue with doing so. It actually made encounter creation so much more simpler, and I appreciated that. So as far as simplicity goes, it hits a solid 4. The only reason it didn't hit a 5 is because when I got into the mechanics of things, such as pneumatics and armor and how to replace limbs and stuff, and how things stacked in particular, because when your armor goes up, which reduces the damage you take, your defense goes down, but when you stack armor, it needs to stack it in a particular way, like you have to have light and 2 heavies in order to gain +3, it's the whole thing. It was a little bit of complexity in the equipment. Beyond that, spells were amazing, powers were amazing, and everything was easy to read and understand, laid out very well. Next up is Versatility. How versatile is this book in your Through the Breach game? Crazy versatile. Just as I said, not only is there just tons of different encounters for you as a Fate Master to be able to wield, as a player as well, there are a number of pursuits here that you just need to get. One of the chief ones is definitely the Mage. If you want to get into spellcasting and stuff like that, I've always suggested start with the Dabbler, then head straight to the Mage. The Mage is filled with a bunch of really cool manifested powers that allow you to start wielding magic literally limited by your imagination. It is such a great pursuit. In addition, if you wanted to look at creating constructs and working with augmentations and stuff, you have the Augmented for your cybernetic needs, and you've got your Cobbler for your Animator to be able to create your cobbled together robot construction. This is a great book because I don't think there's a single character that couldn't make benefit of something within it. So it is definitely by far one of the most versatile books of the series. Next, what we're going to look at is narrative. The narrative was actually really good. I'm very accustomed to hearing stories about Malifaux City, the people there, the factions that exist there, but very rarely do we journey out into the landscape. As some of you who are fans of the ongoing Malifaux news, you would know that the Explorer Society is a new faction that has breached into Malifaux as of Malifaux 3rd edition. Obviously, with Through the Breach being still translating to 2nd edition, there is no real book for the Explorers yet. And this instead covers what I imagine would be covered in that Explorer Society book. It is about the terrain, it is about the land, it is about the areas that have been developed, what happens to be residing out in those different spaces outside and around Malifaux, prime for exploration. Lots of really cool hidden secret tidbits here, and it gives a lot of scope and context for a lot of the games that you want to be running through this campaign. It doesn't matter where you want to take your players, whether it's a small contract town, an abandoned mine, or even deep within the bayou. There is stuff in this book for you to be able to expand on that world. Next up is appearance. How does it look? It looks good. It looks good. Okay, I'm gonna say this: the book looks good, but it is very clearly outdated. There is a lot of stuff that does, kind of look a little bit tired. But for the most part, everything is laid out in a very familiar format to the way that we expect these kind of expansions to be. Starting, of course, with the introductions page. Then, of course, you got the different Arcanist lands. You've got how to make your Fated, then your Pursuits, your Talents and your Skills. Then you've got your Steamforged and your Masters of the Arcane. But when we get down into like the equipment and the bestiary, the equipment was amazing. Looked incredible. I loved the details in the augmented arms and the links. There was a thing called a military brace, which looked awesome. It was basically this robot hand with these buckles that kind of belted in this kind of like massive, like it almost looked like a power plug. It's very cool, right? And the portrait artwork is always amazing, but when we got down into the bestiary, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the way that they handled, this sort of stuff back before they had a lot of the 2nd edition models. But the artwork was just line art. And I know that a lot of the expansions are just line art. But some of them just kind of looked like barely out of concept sketches. In particular, there was one that I loved, though, which was the gunsmith. That was amazing. But then I'd look at like a couple of things like the Slate Ridge Mauler or the Hawkats, and I'd be like, that's a little disappointing. Oh, the Wendigo, that was another one that I was kind of like, man, what a shame. But nonetheless, keeping in mind that this was based off their 1st edition, which had a very different appearance to a lot of these models. So that's kind of where I was at with that. Is, it's good, but I prefer the other ones. I prefer the artwork that was used in some of the other books. Now, next we're going to be looking at balance. How balanced is this book? Now, I gave this one a 3.5, and here's why. While I think it's very versatile, and while I think it is very useful for a Fate Master in that perspective, I think the balance leans a little bit to the unfair side. It is outdated, which means it hasn't really seen much of the new materials that have come through, and there is a lack of support for certain elements that have since been introduced into Through the Breach. That is just a product of the edition change. That is all. The game itself, you could play an augmented character very happily. There would be no problem with it. But I would find that if you were playing an augmented character at the same table as a twisted character, it would be very easy for a twisted character to take, say, a couple of pursuit ranks in augmented, and you would kind of feel as though being like someone who's used the character creation in this book, you'd kind of feel like the big element to your character has kind of already been, kind of overdone by a pursuit. That was the only thing that I thought there. It was just like, what's the point of playing the base thing, the actual fated from this, if somebody else could just be that with the pursuit. So that was probably my only gripe with it. Apart from that, it's a great book, and like I said, even if I would say, and I would suggest that if you are a player doing a fated, unless you're really into like that innovation stuff or the kind of pathfinding and the wild exploration type stuff, if you're not into that, I'd probably give this a miss. As well as if you're a mage. If you're also really into the magic stuff, then yes, get this book. But if you're into gunslinging and stuff like that, yeah, go get another one. Go get like Above the Law and stuff like that. But that being said, if you are a Fate Master, 100% pick up this book. This book saved so much time, so much effort, and so much energy because of just how much cool stuff was in it to help me design encounters. So if you're Fate Masters, if you're watching, this is the must-have one. Yeah, I know I say this almost every video, but yeah, this one for the Fate Masters, definitely. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was enlightening in terms of what is available. If you have any questions at all about it, please leave a message in the chat below, and I will be more than happy to answer it and obviously continue to discuss. We will be releasing the final of these videos, the Under Quarantine, very soon. Very soon. So look forward to that. Until next time, guys, as always, be sure to check us out on all the links below. I have a Twitch channel, which you can come and watch me play stuff in. Recently, I have started up a DeadAussieGamer live channel where I've been posting all of my live shows. And you can see recently I've done a Through the Breach game there with a few of my friends. So if you want to see all of this stuff in action, head on over there. Until next time, guys, from me to you, game hard or die trying. Good night.